Hey there, this is Perch, and wanted to talk a little bit about Hunted. So, Hunted is an event going on in Amazing Spider-Man, and I like. I'll right out the offset. I'm going to say I really like the way that they're handling Hunted, which is that it's contained in Amazing Spider-Man. It's an in-title event. Reminds me of the kind of old ways they used to do events. They're not. We're not having special issues fly here or there. They are doing inserted issues, so they're doing the Amazing Spider-Man, 14.hu. It's kind of an extra story. So you can read just the event in Amazing Spider-Man and the core series and be done. You get a full story there, and then the little Hunted tie-ins are still labeled Amazing Spider-Man, but they're numbered kind of as a insertion. And I was skeptical, like a lot of people. They're saying, you don't have to read these, but it's a better story if you do. That's always the line that they use. But it's been true this time. The story is actually better if you read them. The characterization that's going on with some Spider-Man villains is really quite good, and it's allowing some other artists to come in and play. And it's providing some really nice depth and some cool stuff there. So I'm thinking those tie-in issues are actually really good. And if you're putting your money somewhere right now, I mean, I don't want to compare, but if you look at the tie-ins for War of the Realms, a lot's going on there that is, I mean, it's like, hey, here's some of your Marvel characters and they're fighting trolls, and isn't that cool? You can miss it, and you're not missing anything. It's kind of a fun. It's a story in the environment of War of the Realms is how the tie-ins work. But at the end of the day, it's not core to the story. It's just a story set within that environment. With the Spider-Man Hunted series, the stories actually do kind of double service. It's providing some nice depth to the event, but it's also providing some nice depth to these characters in general. I mean, you're seeing things and learning things, and you're getting some really nice insight into what makes Spider-Man tick, or more what makes some of the villains tick that will be used in future events. Years from now. Look at me, I slipped of the tongue. Future events. Sorry, that is the way it feels like sometimes. But no, future comics. It's just we're learning a bit about Vulture. We're learning a little bit about Gibbon. That was a really good issue, actually. It's a tragic kind of good Spider-Man. Just really felt like Spider-Man. Felt like the Spider-Man that you know from the '80s, the '90s, the 2000s. I mean, just felt the Dan Slott Spider-Man era changed the way a lot of the heroes and the villains were acting and interacting. They're to me, and it was a very popular, very well selling run. And Dan Slott is somebody that people are frequently like to beat up on for completely unrelated reasons to his writing. But what always struck me about his work on Spider-Man is there always seemed to be like some impatience. Like he really didn't necessarily feel comfortable writing the Spider-Man character that exists, and he really wanted to tell a different story with, kind of trying out different parts of his personality. It's like, hey, let's make Spider-Man rich. Now let's kill him off and have Doc Ock do it. Now he's rich again, and no, now he's lost everything and he's in shambles, and it's a shame. And it's just all over the place. Behavior. So it always felt like slightly schizophrenic, slightly like this was a person who wasn't necessarily comfortable with just writing and building upon Spider-Man. We had to keep trying out kind of plot and character gimmicks to make it what it is. So I've been happy with Nick Spencer on Spider-Man. It feels like he gets Spider-Man. It really does feel like there's a sense of the character. And Hunted feels, it is nowhere near at the quality level of a Kraven's Last Hunt, but that's not a knock against Hunted. Kraven's Last Hunt is one of those comics that comes around once in a decade. It's just really, really powerful storytelling, and you had Mike Zeck at the top of his game, and you just had a lot of really great things about that title. So Hunted is not that, but it is very solid in terms of kind of Spider-Man events going on. I would place this way above things like Spider Island and even some of the Spider Verse stuff that has had some good concepts, but has been over the map. And I think that this is the first, what feels like to me, the first really great Spider-Man story event, kind of in comic event story that we've had in a very long time, and it's nice. It's got some interesting elements to it. Again, not everything is perfect, but I like the way that Spider-Man's being written. I like the work they're doing with Black Cat. I think that's been very good. I like kind of the revelation of that character and how that's transformed. I think that Spencer did a really amazing job in kind of fixing a lot of things about Black Cat that had gotten kind of torn up in the previous run, and that was very good. Kraven is an interesting character here. There's some deeper motivations. This is where it has a nice spiritual successor to Kraven's Last Hunt, because you're getting some of the depth and complexity about that character. It's funny because the Kraven that we've seen in Squirrel Girl and other comics is like a complete joke of that character, and here we're seeing a deadly serious Kraven, and so you can't even put the two together as the same. Somebody pointed out that part of the storyline is Kraven created all these clones of himself and sent them out into the world, and the one clone got the essence of Kraven and went and hunted and killed off all the other clones. And so somebody came up with a theory of, hey, maybe this Kraven's been running around in Squirrel Girls was one of the clones, and that's why the character was so different. Was written nothing like kind of the core character, and that's a good theory. I love that. That's the answer. That's awesome. Um, but the in terms of the things that aren't working, I think we've got a couple issues left to go, so we still got to transition a little bit to get our big Spider-Man moment. I mean, like Kraven's Last Hunt, Spider-Man was almost a backup character in his own story. It was very much about Spider-Man and the essence of what it means to be Spider-Man and all of that. But a lot of that series was, I mean, it was Kraven. That was who was forefront of that comic. And in this one, in Hunted, we've got a few different people. We're looking at villains. We're looking at Black Cat. We've got a couple people sharing the stage with Spidey. So it's not as much a Spidey story as it is a kind of an ensemble story and a deep look at some characters. Um, the other thing is, it's funny. This can be an odd complaint. I just recently reread Avengers Arena, and I think Arcade feels like the bad part of the story. It feels like the weird inserted element that doesn't really fit. It's almost like in one of the recent issues, Arcade has kind of popped back up again, and he's taunting Spider-Man, and it feels weird. It does not feel like it belongs in this story that's actually doing a lot of really neat, complex things, and so you kind of wonder how it will all turn out if Arcade's going to get a surprise murdered by Kraven, or because that's been some of the storyline has been about a double cross. So, what's going to happen with Arcade? I'm hoping there's some extra element there as opposed to Kraven, who's really got a lot of nice complexity to his character. Is just working with this kind of flamboyant, goofy guy for no reason. I'm hoping there's an extra moment there. But all in all, some really good stuff. I think in terms of this year, we've seen Age of X-Men, and we've seen War of the Realms, and now we're seeing Hunted, and there's more to come. Right now, to me, Hunted is the one to beat. It is by far, from a quality perspective, the one that is, I think, doing some real justice to the character, adding some interesting things that, like I mentioned, will be picked up from years to come, and is just a solid read. I think it's if all events and little in-comic events were this way, hey, we'd be living good. This would be a good outcome. And it's really it's kind of the lesson of less is more. So the amount of titles in Hunted, I forget off the top of my head, but I mean we're talking 12, I think, total issues maybe. And you're getting a lot of comic and a lot of story in those 12 issues. You're getting a lot of character building. You're just getting a lot of stuff. And compared to other crossovers which have 200 issues as part of the event, when all is said and done, it's like less is more, man. I mean, this is it's far more likely that you're going to see people pick up every single issue of Hunted. It's very likely that will happen, as opposed to kind of what feels like the cash grab of all these other titles. So anyway, That's my little bit about Hunted. If you haven't seen it, you might want to check it out. I'm sure it'll be collected in some form, hopefully in just one trade and not like Hunted Part One and Part Two. I don't know. Just make one really nice trade, put it out there, and it's good. And the big surprise, the tie-ins, the extra issues, quote unquote, are good. They're solid parts of the story. I'm impressed with the restraint that went on here. So let me know what you think. Are you reading this event? Do you like it? Do you not like it? How does it compare to previous events and other things you've read? Let me know your opinion. And subscribe, like, click the bell for notification if you'd so choose. And thanks for listening.